Grand Rising and welcome to Newmind, where our intention is clear and it's to share information for transformation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to watch this on YouTube or listen to it on the streaming channels. If you are listening and you feel like some engagement, some pictures and colors, some eye-to-eye contact, I am here at the studio in Dubai recording this. So I'd love for you to engage, share, comment, and let us know what we can do for you to make this series and this season even better. So thank you for being here. So we're continuing the journey of these principles that I have extracted over the years from the traders I've worked with, things that I've seen make the impact, move the needle. Honestly speaking, the principle that I'm about to start and share with you is probably the most important principle. And I don't want to rank them because they're not in particular order, but this one, without a doubt, has been the one that shifts the needle the most. It doesn't mean that the others aren't important. They all add up. They all create this holistic approach. But this one in particular, and I know you would know this without probably resonate with you, this one in particular is the one that if you have it, if you're good at it, you are guaranteed to become a more successful trader and a better version of yourself in life for sure. And that is emotional alchemy and the ability to transmuting fear, doubt, and self-sabotage. Now, this is really important because when I say fear, I want you to understand fear isn't the enemy. It's unprocessed energy. And what matters is what you do with it. And this is really, really important because all the time people come to me and they have this extra loaded fear aspect. And I'm like, guys, this is just something that we haven't transmuted. We haven't processed. Let me change that into excitement, into inspiration, into confidence. So a big one, of course, you all know when it comes to emotions in trading is the fear of loss, right? It's a big one. But the reason that is the fear of loss, the reason that's there is because there's an attachment to the outcome. And when there's fear, there is an emotion, right? And what is creating that emotion is the anticipation for the outcome not to go according to what they want. There's the anxiety of everything going wrong. But immediately that picture, that image, that future projection creates the fear in the nervous system, which then we're sitting with an emotional trader. We're sitting with someone that is unable to regulate their emotions, unable to manage their trades. They're all over the show. And I would say an emotional trader is a trader that shouldn't trade, shouldn't be in trading at all. And you have to have emotional intelligence so that you can have conviction in what you're doing, which we spoke about in one of the principles, but also just building that self-trust as well. And there's an immediate doubt that kicks in when there is emotions, right? The lack of preparation or unresolved identity conflicts that shows up. This is why when I work with traders, I go deep into their identity. I always say this, it's not about the emotions, it's about the identity and the internal perceptions that create this projection in the future that allows them to become more emotional, more fearful. So clearing out the fear and clearing out all the past perceptions and negative conditioning is key to be able to manage your emotional state, to regulate your emotions, to regulate your nervous system. And unfortunately, the more charge based on your conditioning of the past, the more emotions you have, the more you are triggered easily, right? The more suppressed emotion, that doesn't work. They leak out in behavior, you know? Suppressing emotions will always leak out in your behaviors, and they are the triggers that I'm talking about. So when I work with my clients and particular traders in this context, I'm always making sure that we are releasing all that past. We're releasing all the emotional charge, all those misaligned perceptions, so they become more grounded, so they become less reactive in what they're doing, and they become less emotional traders, right? Because think about this. If you are an emotional trader, and I'll use fear as an example because it's one of the big emotions that show up. What does fear do? Fear hijacks the nervous system. It's fight or flight. It's narrow focus. It freeze. You narrow your focus. You don't see opportunities. You move into this lack mind. You move into this disempowered mind. And this is all coming and stems from fear. Fear is, in this case, the enemy. It really is, because it's just showing up and bringing out all the negative behaviors that you don't want as a trader. So dealing with that, dealing with your emotions, having emotional intelligence will eliminate all those negative behaviors. I mean, you guys know most revenge traders are emotional reactions. And most revenge trades or traders, as I mentioned, are emotional reactions to not having that conviction, not having the strategic decisions that they're doing. So they always are reactive. And how can you be a reactive when you're trading? Because you're going to be thrown off every 2 seconds, every minute, every half an hour, every trade, specifically when the trades don't go against you, because fear kicks in. And then fear, it's driven by a program, and it literally takes over. But what I'm saying in this principle and what I'm introducing is the traders that I call have emotional alchemy. And what they do, and what I've coached them to do over the years, is the ability to turning that fear into awareness, into focus, into transmuting that and understanding that this is showing up, and how do I manage that emotion? How do I become aware of it and it doesn't take over? Because it's a program. All programs, specifically the limiting programs, are driven by thought and feeling. And once the feeling kicks in, once the emotion kicks in, it calls up that program of a specific behavior, that state, that negative state. So remember, this is not, how can I say this? This is not just talk. This is actually how your nervous system works and how your subconscious or unconscious programming works. The fuel of all these programs are emotions. The instigator, the trigger, is emotions, and it triggers you into a specific state, right? Now, if you have emotional intelligence and you've done the inner work and you've cleared your nervous system by not having emotional charge from the past, and you're sort of more grounded, more present, you learn to process emotions. You don't lose your power in the trade. You don't have a negative relationship with what's going on. And it's really important because there are tools out there, guys. And some of the things I share with my traders, like specific breathwork practices, specific reframing, grounding practices that they do, which almost resets and sets them ahead of moving forward before their trade. And this is why I always say, the science of priming for me is a big, big thing. And if you're applying that in your day-to-day life and in your trading, you are setting yourself for success, because what you're doing is you're developing a calm nervous system, and a calm nervous system equals a clear decision-making process, clear decision maker. You want to be a clear decision maker? That doesn't come without having a calm nervous system. And not having a calm nervous system is basically an emotional trader, an emotional person that is not regulated, that is jumping, that is reacting to everything in the market. Good or bad, by the way, let's just be very clear, but not having that grounding energy. But when you are clear, when your nervous system is regulated, when you are emotionally intelligent, doubt disappears. And doubt disappears even more when you're grounded and your preparation is strong, of course, right? So you start to have the right attitude, the right energy, the right perspective, conviction, everything we've been speaking about these principles, they all start to come together. But at the top, or should I say at the foundational level, honestly speaking, at the foundational level, in order to create that success, to create that momentum, to build, it starts with emotional intelligence. This is super important. And also understanding that your emotions, you start to read, you start to communicate with your emotions. They become the feedback to what your body's telling you. We're going back into intuition, our previous principle. All of that is communication. It's part of emotional intelligence, right? It's part of having alchemy in what you're doing. Because remember, it's the same fear that sabotages you in trading often runs your life outside of the markets. So again, I always used to say this in my previous episodes and some of the podcasts before. If you're a fearful person outside of trading, it's going to translate in your trading, obviously. You know, if you're a person that deals with anxiety, it's going to translate in your trading. So deal with those foundations, deal with those roots first, so you create an opportunity and a possibility that actually shows up in for trading and in the market to the best version of yourself that is not emotionally reactive, you know? So emotional resilience is the real edge, honestly speaking, guys. Emotional resilience is the real edge. And honestly, I again have seen this over the years. When the traders I've worked with have emotional intelligence and emotional resilience, that's when the market rewards them, because they have calm minds. They have calm minds. They have conviction. Their intuition rises because it's not distorted by the noise. And they just come into the space of knowing, the space of awareness. And they also know when they are not emotionally regulated, they do something about it. Because at the end of the day, we are humans. We're going to get triggered. I'm not saying for you not going to feel. Don't get me wrong. We all feel. We all have emotions. That's part of the human making. But if you do not know how to deal with it, to transmute it, to clear it, to do some work to reset it, you're just going to be in that spiral. You're just going to be a reactional trader, an emotional trader, and an emotional person for that matter. And that's, unfortunately, doesn't take you very far in life, because the way life is created, the way this matrix is created, it's to work on triggering emotions. It's to work on inducing you to switch to a specific emotional state, because you become predictable. People become predictable when they are in a specific emotional states. We all know. I mean, look at the past few years. When people are in a fearful state, they become irrational. They don't think practically, and they do things which they regret later. And I'm speaking code here. I think you know what I'm talking about. But understanding that emotions drive behavior, and if you understand that on a fundamental level, then you go, okay, well, then I know that if I have certain emotions, I'm going to do certain behaviors that's not going to serve me. How can I learn and be a master, an alchemist in regulating my emotions, so that I can become more of an observer and more calm in my mind? Because as I said, markets will reward calm minds, not emotional traders or emotional people. So I trust this is another principle, another reminder to gauge where you are at and to be honest with yourself. Do you have limited emotions and fear of missing out, or fear of losing, or overconfidence, overtrading, ego coming? All of these are driven by emotions. So ask yourself, where do I rank from 0 to 10? Am I an emotional trader? What number would I give myself? When am I emotional? How long does it take me to come back into balance? Do I have any practices that I do on a day-to-day basis that will regulate my nervous system? Have I done inner work, deep work, to release a lot of insecurity that drives negative emotions of the past? Because they're just conditioning. That's all they are. This was the part of my work that I absolutely love. It's like formatting a computer, you know. A lot of the guys that work with me, they want, like, I want this and that. I'm like, well, before we even create, before we get into the identity, we have to release the past, because that's where all the emotions are hidden, right back there. And they're stored, and they're, trapped in the body, and and because no one taught us how to regulate our emotions. No one taught us how to process emotions. We never learned that at school or uni or in any courses. I had to literally specialize in this to learn that this actually exists and how it can change people's lives. Very grateful. I apply this in my own life every day, and in the lives of the clients, of course, and my traders and the people I work with, giving them those tools and the knowledge and the know-how. But we don't know what we don't know. If we never knew this, we just continue being an emotional person, and that's how life continues, and we continue acting on those emotions and being a reactional person. We're never really in charge, are we? It's the programs, it's the subconscious programs that takes over. So aligning that, getting you back into balance and building emotional mastery, become emotional, the alchemist of yourself is in my opinion, based on years of experience, that is the number one principle that will definitely make the difference in becoming a more abundant, successful, profitable, happier person that you are. You will have that in you already. It's just that we need to gauge where we're at and do the inner work. So guys, if this episode resonated with you, if you have any questions around emotional intelligence, building emotional resilience, what does that look like? How does someone get into it? DM me, reach out, comment. I'm more than happy to go deeper into this topic, because this is a topic that cannot be covered in an episode, to be very open with you. It is just more of a reminder here that to gauge where you're at, and I'm more happy to go deeper and share more in this context and how we can build that emotional resilience even more. So guys, thank you for taking the time to watch this or listen to this. I appreciate you being here. Much love and positive energy.